Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. Chapter 2, the contents of the Gita summarized. I was told text 4 and 5. Together. Arjuna uvāca. Kathaṁ bhīṣmam ahaṁ saṅkhye. Droṇaṁ ca madhu-sūdana. Iṣubhiḥ pratiyotsyāmi. Pūjā-arhau ari-sūdana. We'll repeat the next one. No, I will do the next one. We'll do the next text 5, and then I'll let others chant too. This one is, Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhīṣma and Droṇa who are worthy of my worship? Srila Prabhupada's Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhīṣma, the grandfather, and Droṇācārya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? Would Kṛṣṇa ever attack his own grandfather, Ugrasena, or his teacher, Sāndīpani Muni? These are some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Kṛṣṇa. Pretty good arguments, huh? Responsively. Gurun ahatva he mahanubhavan Shreyo bhaktum bhīṣmam apiha loke Hatvarta kamangstu gurun ihaiva Bunjya bhogan rudhira padigdan. Guru, the superiors, atava, ahatva, not killing, he, certainly, mahanubhavan, great souls. Shreya, it is better. Bhoktum, to enjoy life. Bhakṣyam, by begging. Api, even. Iha, in this life. Loke, in this world. Hatva, killing. Artha, gain. Kaman, desiring. To, but. Gurun, superiors. Iha, in this world. Eva, certainly. Bunjya, one has to enjoy. Bhogan, enjoyable things. Rudhira, blood. Pratigdhan, tainted with. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Responsively, it would be better.
It would be better.
Again, it would be better.
It would be better
to live in this world by
by
begging
begging
than to live
than to live
at the cost
at the cost
of the lives of great souls
of the lives of great souls
who are my teachers.
who are my teachers.
Even though
Even though
desiring worldly gain,
desiring worldly gain,
they are superiors.
they are superior.
If they are killed,
If they are killed,
everything we enjoy
everything we enjoy
will be tainted with blood.
will be tainted with blood.
Srila Prabhupada's purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhīṣma and Droṇa were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers, but Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruvei Namaha. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So this is the beginning of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna is finding great difficulty because of having to disrespect his grandfather and Duryodhana. In his mind, they're his superiors. It says even we should not give verbal retaliation, even if they're the superiors giving some maybe harsh treatment. So it's very difficult in one sense to be humble under all circumstances, because surrender to Guru is such a deep and meaningful activity, because Guru is ultimately Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa is the supreme Guru, and the real Guru is a representative of the Lord and the Lord's teachings. Then further, just to add a little spice to this, stating that if the Guru is not, performing his duty of freeing his dependent from the cycle of birth and death, or leading him onto religious principles for self-realization, then this is also another consideration, just like what most prominently comes to mind in Srimad Bhagavatam is when Lord Vamanadev incarnated, and he was telling Bali Maharaj that you come from a great family, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, great powerful warriors, and Prahlad Maharaj, your grandfather, knowing your family would ever go back against their word, and they would always respect Brahminical culture. So in so many ways he was preparing Bali Maharaj that, you offer to give 3 paces of land, and Bali Maharaj said, why? You should take more. You're not very intelligent, you're just a young boy. Anyone who approaches me, the king, he should have nothing to ask for ever again. I would give you whatever you want. But the Lord Vamanadev said, one who cannot control his senses, even if he has the whole world, he's never satisfied, ever satisfied. So I'm perfectly happy with that. But Shukracharya could see into this whole thing. He said, hey, he's Vishnu, he'll trick you. You know, don't surrender, otherwise you become poverty-stricken, your property will be all taken away, and how will you pay me, you know, your priest? In so many ways, he said, you know, if you didn't really mean it or under difficult circumstances, you could break your promise. So Bali Maharaj, after due consideration, really thought about it, because obviously the guru is respected the same as God, and you know, one's life is surrendered submissively, exclusively to carrying out the order of the spiritual master, because we know that this is the will of the Lord. But he thought that this is not proper behavior on Shukracharya's part to dissuade me or deviate me from carrying out my promise to the Lord. So in this way, he rejected Shukracharya. But this is not something done whimsically, not that because the Guru is asking us to go to the Mangal Artik every day and follow the 4 regulative principles and chant your rounds enthusiastically, read Bhagavad Gita, read Bhagavatam, don't associate with nonsense people, and fix your mind on Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. There are many other circumstances which people may feel inconvenienced, because modern man, if religion in any way interferes with their economic development or their so-called ideas of progress in material civilization, then they want to reject or minimize religion. Sometimes the parents of those who have surrendered to God, surrendered to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, they become angry. Oh, why you're depriving my child of his financial opportunities, because by serving your religious society, you know, they're missing out on so much economic opportunity. They could work hard and be established in business and this kind of thing. So Arjuna was finding it very perplexing, because obviously he had all respect for Bhīṣma and Droṇa. He didn't in any way want to be fighting them. And he said, well, I mean, Kṛṣṇa, you wouldn't fight Sāndīpani Muni or in any way disrespect your superiors. But the fact is that Arjuna felt perplexed and puzzled, just like all of us are perplexed and puzzled in this material world as to what is best for us. You know, who am I? What is the purpose of my life? What do I do to get free from my anxieties, from my perplexity, from my suffering? And we have many ideas, our own ideas, but ultimately he surrendered to Kṛṣṇa, who is the supreme spiritual master. And although they were friends and talking in a friendly way together, when Arjuna finally said, I don't know how to solve this problem. There's no way I can make this solution. I surrender unto you, please instruct me. So Kṛṣṇa took that position in a grave way and said, well, why are you speaking in this way? You come from a very powerful family, from the side of Pritha, who is the sister of Vasudeva, the blood relative of Kṛṣṇa, and you're a great Kshatriya, upholding principles of religion, an Aryan, one who knows the values of life. Well, you should not act like this. This is not proper. And one who's wise doesn't lament like that, for the living or the dead. Because as the whole second chapter goes very deep into the eternal existence of the soul, Najayate Mariyate Vakadacha Nayang Bhutva Bhavata Vana Bhuya Jonitya Shashvato Yang Purano Nahanyate Hanyamani Sharire. There's never birth or death for the soul. He's eternal, ever-existing, undying, primeval. He's not slain when the body is slain. But that does not promote slaughtering animals or slaughtering your guru or teachers. It does not necessarily give you the ticket to act irreligiously. So Arjuna could understand that this is a difficult situation I find myself in, and if one is not clear and focused on his duty, then he has no enthusiasm to carry it out. So he's asking Kṛṣṇa, please, you tell me. So Kṛṣṇa spent quite some time, I mean, I don't know about quite some time, but the second chapter is one of the biggest chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, explaining that that those who are born in this world, they also have to die. And for the soul, you cannot burn it, you cannot cut it, and it doesn't all of a sudden merge with the Supreme. He rules out the whole idea of non-existence, that since time immemorial we've existed as eternal living beings, as the master and the servant, the served and the server. We are part of Kṛṣṇa. We're servants of Kṛṣṇa. And we've fallen into this material world of complexity and suffering. Although this is extreme, obviously this battle, Kṛṣṇa came for a purpose, to reestablish religious principles, and Arjuna is his instrument. Arjuna is his eternal associate. And who better than to explain the science of self-realization with all the confusions and details of this material world but his dear friend? Just like Parikshit Maharaj, although great emperor and the last descendant of the Pandavas after the battle of Kurukshetra, practically he was the only, Ashvatthama tried to kill him as well, but he was cursed. And all the great sages, they gathered together on the bank of Jamuna, Ganges, but there's a place where the Jamuna and Ganges kind of come together, so it's not like a contradiction, but it's Ganges, Jamuna, the sacred river, and not only great sages from this planet, but from other planets, from other places. They all understood the great emperor is leaving, he's going to, so something special will happen. And that special thing, everyone was giving various advice. Oh, you should do this, or perform this kind of tapasya, or atonement, and or ritual, or sacrifice. But ultimately, Kṛṣṇa, he sent Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami, being the Mahabhagavat that he is, he's giving instruction and guidance to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj was instructed just to hear. You should hear about Kṛṣṇa and Kṛṣṇa's glories. You should hear about the pastimes of the Lord and inquire submissively. So just as Arjuna accepted Kṛṣṇa as his guru and spiritual guide, Parikshit Maharaj accepted Shukadeva Goswami, and very reverentially, with submission, with humbleness, and service of attentive hearing. So, obviously we should never disrespect our superiors. There's a story of Lord Brahma, and who were the Maruts? Sarangaji, they saw that Brahma was having some difficulty with his daughter, and they actually laughed at Brahma, so they were forced to take birth from Devaki and be killed by their own father, by Kamsa. So there's a history in there. So, and also when Chitraketu was, after he achieved such a high platform, and he was in Kailash, and there was Lord Shiva with Parvati on his lap instructing all the brahmacharis and sages. He thought, they were friends, so he thought this was quite amusing, but Parvati didn't like that, so she cursed him to become Vritrasura. So there are many instances when Indra, due to his great opulence and prestige of being the king of heaven, was being respected by all his subjects. When Brihaspati, his spiritual master, came in, he didn't properly respect him, he didn't stand. And as a result, Brihaspati left right away, And immediately Indra understood, oh, I really messed up big time by disrespecting my spiritual master. So much so that the demons conquered all the demigods. That's when Bali Maharaj and all the demigods took over the universe. So we may think, oh, these are fantastic stories. But he mentioned that because the demons were very obedient to Ugrasena, they gained a special power. So by obedience to the guru, you get special power. By disobedience and by independent thinking that I'm something special, and guru, it's okay. More of a customary thing. Everybody has a guru. We should not take cheaply or as a mundane personality. We should actually see them as non-different than the Supreme Lord, because the Guru is a representative of Kṛṣṇa. Sakshad harit vinashamasta sastir uktastataivad bhajevasati. We're worshiping every morning that the Guru is respected on the level of God. And that is because the Guru is giving us guidance how to make a real solution to the problems of life. It's not by our own intellectual prowess, thinking that, I'm self-made man, or, I come from a good family, I have a good mind, educational, good philosophical speculations are available. Look at my kingdom, what I've accomplished. The great accomplishments may be there, but ultimately, by the will of the Lord, one can either be fabulously wealthy, but that does not mean that one is making any advancement, because ultimately this material body is temporary. It's made from dirt, water, air, fire. It stays for some time, it dwindles and dies. So that spirit soul is what's the important factor in life. And what's being described here, like two birds on a tree. One bird is eating the fruit, trying to enjoy this life with family, wife, children, money, country. Now I heard there's some fight between Russia and Ukraine possibly, and prior to that was like in America, there was a civil war. So the Civil War means that the South against the North, and those middle states, Virginia, North Carolina, family members were on both sides of the line. So like Arjuna, they had to kill their own cousins, their own relatives, because the fighting was taking place. Just like Kurukshetra, this is one family. The Kuru dynasty was one family. But because Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra were wanting to take power, although rightfully it belonged to Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, so they were making so much conspiracy how to kill the Pandavas. This whole war was taking place. But then from a different perspective, Kṛṣṇa, he arranged it, that he wanted to destroy the irreligious kings and all those who were in the garb of kings and rulers, and reestablish religious principles. We may not understand all the intricacies of how the laws of karma work, but as that bird who's trying to enjoy in this material world somehow or other, thinking that there's some happiness, that only if I can work hard, but mainly is thinking about money, gold, jewels, nice house, beautiful wife, nice family. These things will bring me happiness. But we've seen that in just a flicker, just a few years, that beautiful body turns very wrinkled and old and useless. And that so-called beauty, which is a reflection of the spirit soul, when that spirit soul leaves the body, it's a dead body. My neighbor, he passed away just a few days back, so we were doing kirtan there, And I saw the daughter, Papa, here, take some water, and hugging and kissing. And you see the lifeless body. Obviously, the emotion and the attachment to the physical body is there because the spirit soul that was animating that body, we have a relationship like that. It's not that only the body, but we identify with the body. And this bodily identification that Arjuna had with Droṇa and Bhīṣma, Kṛṣṇa is saying, well, because they lived a righteous life, a godly life, they'll either get a spiritual body or heavenly planets. But that's lofty thinking. You're not thinking that that I want to fight them and kill them. But we have to understand that Kṛṣṇa is giving this teaching of the eternality of the soul and the responsibility of the living entity to perform his duty. And what is our duty? Like Sanatana Goswami was saying, that all my friends and people call me as a learned personality, but who am I? What is the purpose of my life? And how do I awaken that true understanding of my true identity? And that identity is awakened by devotional service, by the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanavedanam. And it may seem like, oh, it's such a simple process, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, Kalua Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. But that the name of Kṛṣṇa has great potency. And by training ourselves to always remember Kṛṣṇa, that I am cooking for Kṛṣṇa, the sunshine, this is Kṛṣṇa, the taste of water is Kṛṣṇa, that I'm performing my duty as instructed by my spiritual master. Kṛṣṇa and Sudama went to collect firewood for their spiritual master and underwent great difficulty. A storm came and they were trapped all night. And so the spiritual master came the following day with all the disciples and was very pleased. Oh, for my sake you underwent so much trouble. So devotees, we would go on Sankirtan every day. In the early days, they would be out in the streets chanting for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, the holy name, under various conditions, with their gloves on and playing. I remember that Vishnu Jan, he had even little coins taped to his fingers because they were all cracking from playing for 10, 12 hours a day, the mridanga. Not that we want to become artificially fanatical, but at the time, that was the drive enthusiasm. And then the book distribution in Sankirtan, very, very prominent. And that's like being on a battlefield. You're out, you're meeting, you're enthusiastically giving Kṛṣṇa consciousness, spreading the message of God consciousness to everyone, because you see everyone is part of Kṛṣṇa. These are my brothers, we're all eternal servants of the Lord. And no one wants to see someone suffering. And everyone in this material world is suffering. And this is the ticket. This is the solution to all the suffering. Here, sit down. You have a chair there? Okay. So, not that here it's describing that if the spiritual master is not, or the superiors are not behaving properly, not that we disrespect them like that, but we sometimes have to be careful about keeping good association. Even many personalities, great personalities, some would be critical of the devotees or critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the devotees would avoid them. We're not here to judge who's qualified, who's not qualified. But the spiritual master connects us to Kṛṣṇa, and that connection to Kṛṣṇa means now we have Bhagavad Gita. We are personally hearing from Kṛṣṇa. We're personally associating with Kṛṣṇa. It's not that just Arjuna, because he was personally present with Kṛṣṇa, that, oh, he's much more fortunate. All of us can be just as fortunate that now we're hearing the conversation between Kṛṣṇa and Arjuna. And depending on our intensity of listening and wanting to imbibe or enter this message of Kṛṣṇa consciousness in our heart, why are some, after hearing the message of Guru, very enthusiastic and very determined to carry out their duties, whereas others, it doesn't really penetrate. Some just think that it's a spiritual society, it's a good place to eat and sleep and have a nice, once in a while, you go there and see the deities and chant a few things and very casually perform our devotional service. But this is not what Kṛṣṇa was telling Arjuna, that Arjuna, you just lay down, relax, and even sarcastically has said there, just smoke ganja and relax, I'll fight the battle for you. That was not the intention. The intention of giving the spiritual direction and instruction is to enthuse us to carry out our duty. And that enthusiasm means that you want to glorify the spiritual master, you want to see the deities and dance and sing for them. And then you want to hear very attentively the message of the Bhagavatam, that we're not this material body, we're eternal spirit souls. We don't have to keep suffering birth, old age, disease, and death. And due to our desires and activities in this world, we're forced into another body, whether it's a human being, a demigod, or an animal, or a plant. And human life is very rare. It's rarely achieved after a long period of time. So it's being impressed upon us that Srila Prabhupada underwent so much austerity and struggle, as we heard this morning, how they were thinking that, no, you're going to America, no hope, these people are too much enamored in darkness and ignorance by lust and greed, economic development. That's all they want, is they just want to make industry and money and enjoy the sensual pleasures. But Srila Prabhupada also was thinking, checking with maybe I don't know if I'll be able to stay here, if anybody will hear my message of Godhead when I tell them about the following some rules and regulations and taking up the spiritual practice. They'll tell us, Swami, go home, we don't want that, we're not interested. That's the strong covering of Maya. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mame vaye prapajante mayame tang durantite. This divine energy of Kṛṣṇa is difficult to overcome. You may think, well, why does Kṛṣṇa make it so difficult? It's not like that. It's our desires are that we want to try to enjoy. We're relentless in our attempt to try to enjoy separate from Kṛṣṇa in this world. We're thinking that maybe if I do it this way or do it that way, in the heavenly planets or in this kind of body or that kind of body, some people think that, oh, I am Miss America or Miss India. Oh, this is why is it someone is born in a good family with such a good opportunity to so-called enjoy, but that all becomes disastrous. Even like they say, famous Marilyn Monroe, she's very, very beautiful, but they say she killed herself because there's no happiness in this material world. No matter how much you try to squeeze that juice out of the pressed sugar cane. 2 days back we did a little bike ride around Govardhan, a few of us. We enjoyed that. It was a beautiful day, so Govardhan was very merciful. We came to Radhakund, and then we decided, let's have some sugar cane juice. And I was watching him press that sugar cane, again fold it, and again fold it. There's no more drops were coming out, then he threw it in the bin. So that squeezed out, no juice, sugarcane pulp, we're thinking, well, let me try chewing that and get some pleasure. But there's no pleasure there because there's no juice, there's no happiness in this world. From the highest planet down to the lowest, all are places of misery. But trying to tell a child that, no, you shouldn't be playing like this, you should go to school. Forget it, you don't know, what are you talking about? I want to play. We all want to play in this world very desperately, and it doesn't matter that we're hearing this and hearing that, but it's really not registering because, it's okay, but I want to play. I want to enjoy somehow or other. But it says by jnana vairagya, you need jnana, knowledge. So it takes time to cultivate that knowledge. But by regular hearing from the spiritual master, from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, by following very strictly in a very chaste way your spiritual master, not that, oh, my spiritual master is good, but there's so many spiritual masters, they can all give me something good. That's like being married and think, oh, this is my wife is nice, but there's so many women, or my husband is nice, but there's so many men. We can, that's not the way of actually gaining the strength, because our chastity to Srila Prabhupada, our resolute determination, Srila Prabhupada was concerned because for a small child to deviate is very easy. So even hearing the philosophy in a different mood, in a different way, could very easily derail us or, take us off the path back going home into the wilderness of sense enjoyment, or the idea of mental speculation or liberation or some sort of perfection. We need to have faith that our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he's everyone's spiritual master. Because we're taking guidance from Bhagavad Gita, and we took initiation from those who are faithful, loyal representatives of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is representing the whole Guru Parampara. And he can give the knowledge of Kṛṣṇa. Who knows more than Kṛṣṇa? Kṛṣṇa is the supreme knower of the truth. And this whole chapter is very, very clear that we're eternal servants of God, we've existed in the past, we exist now, we'll continue to exist in the future. So while we're in this human form of life, we should uncover, we should cleanse our heart, cleanse our mind of the misconceptions that there's some happiness in family, there's some happiness in my country, my possessions. Not that we're calloused, we have duties, we have to perform. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his associates were householders, but we have to have the family unit, all serving Kṛṣṇa, hearing Kṛṣṇa, chanting Kṛṣṇa. Then we can put all our energy into that. But we should not dismiss our duties and our responsibilities. And this is the fine dilemma or the argument that's taking place here, that Arjuna is feeling that, well, if I do that, or if I engage in this battle, it'll create, such a disturbance in society that unwanted progeny will be there. I'm disrespecting my teacher, I'm disrespecting my guru, and this is not right, Kṛṣṇa. Yeah, but Kṛṣṇa is explaining that you have your duty to perform, and your superiors that you're concerned with, they've aligned themselves with Duryodhana for financial considerations, and they should not have done like that. But again, this is Kṛṣṇa's plan. We don't know fully how to understand the intricacies of the three modes of material nature and why it is that we're being covered and affected the way we are. But we have that opportunity to clean our mind and clean our heart But we just have to have faith in the Guru, have faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. And although some might be here for 5 years, 10 years, 40, 50 years, that doesn't matter. Dhruva Maharaj was such a young child, Prahlad Maharaj was such a young child, but due to the intensity of their desire to understand Krishna, although in the beginning, akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo daradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purushang param, that Dhruva Maharaj had so many desires. He wanted a kingdom better than his father, better than Brahma's. But then he intensely, being directed by Narada Muni, his mother, and Krishna in the heart, he had such determination that by engaging Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya and performing yajna, tapasya, austerity, and meditation on the Lord, then he became totally cleansed. He actually saw the Lord in his heart. Then he saw the Lord manifest before him. Then the Lord touched him and he became completely enlivened and animated, just like Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsingadev touched the head of Prahlad Maharaj. And then they can speak the absolute truth because they're completely cleansed of heart. So Krishna, he wants us to come back. You may take one step to Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards us. And there'll come a time, it's not that Krishna is just invisible, non-existent, or not relevant, but Krishna is a person, the supreme person. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena, that our eyes will be conditioned by our love and devotion. Patrang pushpang palang toyang, yome bhakti prayachati. By bhakti, simply offering, cooking with love and devotion, doing your chanting with love and devotion, rendering services. The other day I mentioned that I read that although we're reading every day and we're hearing, without engaging in devotional service to the Lord, it's almost like licking the outer bottle of the honey. We need to really enter that by engaging in devotional service. And what does that mean? Follow the order of the spiritual master. Go to the Mangal Arti, worship Tulsi Devi, hear the Bhagavatam, wash the dishes, dress the deities, cook the preparation, go out on book distribution, manage the temple, do something. Arjuna was very active to serve Krishna with enthusiasm and great spirit of serving the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada said, do as I'm doing. Prabhupada was spreading Krishna consciousness by his example, and very eager to hear and chant. And he would say, oh, you're not reading the books? How you will properly represent Krishna consciousness? So we should feel that I'm an ignorant fool. I'm covered over by so many disqualifications. So what will I do in order to try to awaken that? So let me eagerly read this Bhagavad Gita. Let me hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me make a schedule for myself in such a way that I can take rest on time so I can get up on time and do my services. And every day try to do something to further advance in my spiritual life. Because people are just lazy. They sit down on the couch and eating all kinds of nonsense, drinking all kinds of nonsense, and watching football all day. It's like, or they go and golf or go fishing. The old age. I'm retired now, so let me go catch a few fish it's like mindless, with no guidance and no idea that there's a purpose and goal in life. But we're fortunate, we're hearing Krishna instructing Arjuna, and then that instruction is available for all of us. Bhagavad Gita is not meant for Indians, it's not meant just for Americans, it's meant for everybody. Every living being will benefit by the Bhagavad Gita. The song of God, the words of God are for our benefit, and so we should take advantage of that. So many things to say. Anyone have any questions or comments? Something? Yes, Prabhu. By the way, good to see you back in shape, Vaikuntapati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Vaikuntapati, that's a nice name.
Ask one thing actually, who was responsible for this Mahabharata war? Whether this Dhritarashtra or this Bhīṣma or the Droṇacārya actually. The Duryodhana was not responsible for this war.
For the?
Who was responsible for this Mahabharata war? Fighting Mahabharata.
Uh-huh.
See, this Bhīṣma and the Droṇācārya, these are main responsible people responsible for the war. They took the side of evilism with Duryodhana.
Yes.
If they have not taken the side of Duryodhana, the war would not have taken place.
So the question is, if they would not have taken the side of Duryodhana. But the political atmosphere at the time, because Pandu departed untimely, and Bhīṣma, he was not going to take the kingdom. It was actually Bhīṣma's kingdom, technically. But Bhīṣma, he vowed, that's why he's called Devarat. He took a vow to not get married and not have any children, and in order for the reason of the whole history of his father. But when the Pandavas were small children, Kṛṣṇa sent Akrura. See what the atmosphere is there with Dhritarashtra, if he's taking care of the Pandavas properly or not. So, although Bhīṣma should have maybe strongly objected to the way, the neglect and the way they were harshly treating the Pandavas, because Dhritarashtra being blind and wanting his own sons and then kind of taking over the kingdom. Because prior to exiling the Pandavas, Yudhishthira had great opulence. He did the Rajasuya sacrifice. The Pandavas were actually in charge of the kingdom, but by trickery of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, they banished them. Isn't it? They banished them. And so naturally the Pandavas are in exile, so the kingdom is going on, so Bhīṣma, Droṇa, they're part of the infrastructure of the whole Kuru dynasty, so we can't say that, well, if they wouldn't have backed them up, then maybe there would have been no war. But Kṛṣṇa, he had this way of bringing, even Balaram and Kṛṣṇa tried on behalf of Yudhishthira to make peaceful settlements, but there was determination on the part of Duryodhana to have this battle. So Mahabharata, and the battle took place, and the consequences of that battle was that the Kurus and all the kings who supported them were annihilated. The Pandavas were established. Then Parikshit Maharaj, he came into being, and he was cursed, and Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. It's only 5,000 years ago. When you take in the history of how long is the life of Brahma and the history of the world, we're very fortunate that just 5,000 years ago Kṛṣṇa spoke to Arjuna, and then again he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show us how to live the life of Bhagavad Gita, how to surrender to Kṛṣṇa, how to surrender to Guru. He took initiation, he showed the importance of surrender and following a Guru, and then gave us the Mahamantra. So the intricacies of how and why, and if only they wouldn't have supported them, and that's a little difficult to say. But the important thing is that here we are now, and here's Bhagavad Gita, and we have the chanting of the holy name, and we have the association of devotees due to Prabhupada's great mercy of establishing a society that the whole world can live in. Anything else, Prabhu?
I think there is one more explanation why, because Bhīṣma had, I think, taken a vow that he'll protect the kingdom. So whatever cause it may be, Dhritarashtra was the sort of invisible monarch, and Arjuna was the Rajkumara or the Yuvraj. So it was mandated by Bhīṣma himself that he'll protect the kingdom in all circumstances.
So Bhīṣma took a vow to protect the kingdom in all
That's one
circumstances.
explanation.
Social welfare is more important than the
I'm
Bhīṣma.
not, they can make, but this is one explanation which sort of
Right.
at least meet my
It's true.
inclusion.
Yes, Prabhu?
One more.
Okay, one more thing.
Everybody, we also heard in the Bhagavatam and also all that Parikshit was the last of Kuru's dynasty. Parikshit Maharaj was the last in the lineage of Kuru dynasty. But Janmaya was there, Janmaya. So why do we say Parikshit was the last in the Kuru dynasty?
Janmajaya?
Was son of Parikshit.
Yeah, well, because at that time, Parikshit Maharaj, Janmajaya was not there yet. And so Parikshit was the last at that time. So more came afterward, but he was the last.
What time? Like, no, when he was in Bhumaputra, it's all right, he was the last.
Yeah, yeah.
Having ruled the kingdom for, I think, 3 decades or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Was 3 decades, I think, 3 decades or 30 years or so. Even then I find many explanations that he was the last in the Kuru dynasty, I think.
Right, in the sense that he was the last of the Pandavas that survived the battle of Kurukshetra. Obviously, after he became emperor and married and had children of his own, there are other descendants. But the important thing is that we have the Srimad Bhagavatam due to the mercy of Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami and Lord Krishna's influence, Vedavyas. Not only did they speak it, but it was compiled so that Kali Yuga, people just don't have that ability, nor the culture, to follow the Vedic tradition. They're not Shrutidar, able to hear the Guru's message and follow through. So we're very fortunate to have this Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. But I hear your point.
Kṛṣṇa Prabhu, in the purport, last words, but Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy the material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. I don't understand the last. Enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Can you make it simple, that one, the last sentence?
Yeah, Arjuna was saying that if I kill all my friends, relatives, and superiors, then I'm enjoying a kingdom tainted with the blood of my relatives, that I've killed them, so how can I possibly enjoy the kingdom? So tainted with the blood means that Arjuna performed this activity of carrying out his duties and killing all his superiors and relatives. So he's pretty much stating that there's no purpose of having this kingdom, because tainted with the blood, that means it's the victory is spoiled by killing them, by shedding their blood.
It's a feeling of that Arjuna.
Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, ki jai.